Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Kimbo here, and it's time for an epic discussion video. Before getting into it, gonna finish the last of this drink here. Some nice high quality OJ or orange juice. I swear it's like my morning drink. I try not to drink coffee. I mainly go with like orange juice. But yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna have a discussion video here. So with this, kind of a part 2 of what I did before, basically talking about things that I want to see with Beyblade X. I've decided I'm going to split it into 2 different parts and talk about like the things I really want to see on both ends with each company. So this video will be focusing on things I want to see with Takara Tomy with Beyblade X going forward. So little synopsis: Beyblade X started originally summer of 2023, or I think July 2023, in Japan. Started seeing the bays and everything, and then the show dropping not much longer, talking about like fall, winter period. Well, yeah, during the fall. And then everything from there being history. Rare Bay, get battle prize bays, all the releases that we've had, the different lines that we had with like BX, UX bays, the rumored CX that's going to be coming. But yeah, so talking about the things I really want to see on the TT side of things going forward. So with one thing, some of these things will be stuff that they are doing really well with, but just like maintaining it and just seeing it going forward, you know. But anyways, getting into it with this. One thing that I want to see, maintaining the balance. They've done an amazing job with this, that being with like all the different bays they put in, even with like the introduction of left rotation, as well as recently putting in rubber excel, which that being balanced, people say it's really bad. I think it's just like a glass cannon attacker, you know what I mean? Which I like because that's what it's always been with like rubber type tips or glass cannon attackers that go around and get hits in really quickly, but then like don't have much stamina, and it shows that much more with Beyblade X. The systems we've seen before, the way that the bays are balanced and everything, circling around a lot more, using those rubber tips and such. But Beyblade X being a bit still balanced, but more off balance with how the bays are shaped. And I love the balance with that. The balance is in the unbalance, if you will. But yeah, even having a few bits like especially ball, elevate, etc., that have some stamina or LAD with it, especially the biggest case of elevate, like people who've been trying to use Dragoon elevate combos, that it's able to be bursted pretty easily, you know, that being the balance with it. It's just about knowing your knowledge and such with the different parts. And one thing I love is that, yes, we have heavier bays or layers, such as like, for example, you know, we got like Leon Crest, we've got like Cobalt Drake, we've got Phoenix Wing, Whale Wave, Wizard Rod, but they're being big time balanced with things. Wizard Rod being a big case because it's like so round and such. We've seen the combos a lot, to where TT with some of the parts and stuff made it where like, you know, you start with a handicap because they're so strong. That especially being the case of like Wizard Rod. I think they had it for like a couple of ratchets and bits, you know, the combos with them, but making it balance where like new stuff's coming in and balancing it out. But even some bays, I think some bays are slept on. You know, a big time case like Shinobi Shadow, everybody's saying like it's total ass, or like bays that are like that being total ass. But some of the bays, that's what I love about Beyblade X with the system itself. Having the gear ridge on the outside, there are not nearly as many safe spots in a stadium as compared to especially Plastic Gen, Metal Fight, Burst, all of them. You know what I mean? Like you have bays that go and just like use the ridge and such in order to win with stamina, but then that extreme ridge being on the outside helps for the balance and such. And it makes it where lighter bays, because of physics, you know, lighter bays, they might not spin as long as the heavier bays, that is true. But they go around and get startups quicker because the heavier bays, when they do get the startup, they hit with big time power, but it takes more to get that momentum going because of all the weight with it. But you have some lighter bays that could put in that work. And if they get a big time startup, they could put in that work. You know, and that's the beauty of the game, is the big time balance with things. That's at least my view with it. People can agree to disagree, but like just doing this for so long, you know, and being a fan since Metal Fight, seeing how things got during Metal Fight with spin steel combos. Same thing with Burst, like spin steel combos. It's shown that TT has really learned and been like, okay, spin steel, we got to utilize it the right way so it's not crazy OP with things. You know what I mean? They expanded it by not having many left rotation bays with Metal Fight, and of course the spin steel aspect with it. But then Burst, they added more left rotation bays, so we saw more diversity, all bays of different types, like attack, defense, stamina, balance, all of them with burst, but then still having that thing of like the balance with the spin steel and equalization and everything. And it seems like they found it with Beyblade X. Like even Lightning El Drago, Cobalt Dragoon being introduced with things are still really balanced. Like, you know how to utilize them the right way. They're strong, but they're not invincible. And that's how it should be. Rock, paper, scissors, where there's nothing that's absolutely invincible or gross. Nothing has been banned yet. And hopefully it stays that way. That's one thing I really hope, is just them maintaining the balance. Even with the weight with things, add gimmicks. You know, I love that they're adding the gimmicks like the metal balls that they have with Nightmail, the free spinning part that they have on Silver Wolf, the blades on Samurai Saber, how they're adding gimmicks and such like that. But you notice how they're adding the gimmicks and still maintaining the weight being like max high 30 grams. That's one thing I hope for. Keeping it in that 30 realm, you know, like keeping it where like blade wise in the 30s, weight wise for it. And the balance, add all the gimmicks and stuff that you want to. And even that they're slowly putting those gimmicks in is really, really sick. So, you know, of course, love seeing the gimmicks. Want to see some more gimmicks. I'd love to see a gimmicks that they had with like Phoenix, you know, where there's an armor that can come off and such and shoot around and be an obstacle. That would be dope in this gen. But just have it balanced by like, don't give it a ton of weight. You know, just make sure the base total weight with that armor and such is somewhere in the 30s, like even high 30s. You can have that gimmick and such and still maintain the balance. You know, just maintaining the balance throughout the course of things. That's what I really, really want to see. That being with the show as well as with the actual base. They've done so very well with both. And by the show, I mean seeing older characters return and be a part of the storyline going forward. Introducing a few new characters, but doing how Bakugan did in Gen 2, because like in Gen 2, they did things very well. You talk about even Season 5, you had characters, they had it where characters, big characters from all the previous seasons came in with that. And it felt like a true tying of the knot endgame type of thing. They pulled off Bakugan Gen 2 so well. Extremely well with the story. It's just sad that things didn't escalate with the cards. You know what I mean? That being the big time hole, and then they just switched to Gen 3. But that's a whole nother story. Y'all know my thoughts on it. I love Bakugan. I even enjoy things with Gen 3, but just being truthful and honest about it. You know what I mean? Give my honest thoughts. Why would you be here if I didn't? But you know I'm constructive with it. I'll say the things that I wish were better and the things that were absolutely amazing. One thing that's amazing is the balance with the game and such that they have, even at this stage. Because with like Burst, when it came to like Season 2, you know, like a lot of Season 1 stuff not being used as much after the Season 2 stuff. With Metal Fight, not so much the same case. Like it was still really balanced because even after Season 2, well, okay, getting towards the end with how Kerbex and Basalt Rogium, then it started switching up big time. You know what I mean? But even before that, like having bays like Rock and Grand being in there, even like Gravity Destroyer or Perseus, you know, that not being a crazy level. The main things being Kerbex and Tempo or Hirogium. That's where things started getting wild. You know, got Screw or Spyro, that being strong, but still had parts that you could even use from like first season with things, you know. And then of course in Season 3, like the big time power change for sure, like all previous bays compared to like the 4D bays and everything. That's why they had to make the limited format and such, getting to this point. And then Shogun Steeler 0G Synchromes, we saw that power increase, you know. And then with Burst, same thing with it. You got single layers, dual layers, which had a bit better clicks. So like single layers being used a bit. Like you had like Death Scyther, you know, I mean, Dark Death Scyther combos, and then you had like Death Scyther heavy defense and stuff, or Odin heavy defense. You know what I mean? Like combos like that. Like there was a bit of balance between Season 1 and Season 2 of Burst. Then, you know, well, Season 2, then God of Evolution, you know what I mean? Single layers, dual layers, I'm talking about. Then Season 2 with God of Evolution, all previous stuff, you already know. Then you got the God Bays coming in and being strong. And then Show Z, Metal being incorporated, them being even stronger. Than GT, same thing. More weight, more gimmicks and such. Up the weight. And then Super King, you already know, man, up there. And then Dynamite Battle, even more so up there. And BU with the same case. It shows how it's evolved, but then stuff before became big time obsolete and not really used. At least with Bakugan, when it came to the second generation, in the second era, there's big time balance, even with like introducing new gimmicks, like with you know, if I can words and process. But even with how they had like the kind of the nanogon, the Geogon, there you go, words, but how they even had the Geogon as such, how they had fusions. When you talk about the TCG and how they incorporated those things, there's big time balance with all the waves of the TCG that we saw. You know, of course, cards that were more preferable, but they kept the balance with it in a major way. Even with the Bakugan going throughout, all the way up to the end, there wasn't an insane power creep like how it was with the first gen of Bakugan. That's something where they learned, you know? In games like this, it shows how companies learn, but then how errors are made and such, and hopefully they learn things. I said my piece on Bakugan. Gen 2, oh my god, amazing. But then like going with the Gen 3 approach after it, not the best. It shows with how things are on hiatus now. But with Beyblade, you know, it's shown throughout time how they made the base stronger and stuff. Even with the plastic generation, you know, plastic gen, and then going and evolving to the point where they got to HMS. With the regular plastic gen, I think there was a lot of balance with it up until HMS, and then HMS making everything else basically like obsolete with the metal contact points and all the weight and everything, you know, that being the end of it. But the way that they're maintaining the balance reminds me of how Bakugan did in Gen 2, where they had characters returning, where they had like the Bakugan being around the same level with the actual physical game, with the cards, them being level, even introducing new gimmicks and stuff. Maintain that. That is the biggest thing I could say, is just maintaining it for sure. Having the bays be in the 30s weight wise, the ratchets, the bits and everything. And I mean, it shows with the ratchets, like how we got 7. We'll probably have like different versions of like, I mean, we got 0 just introduced. Well, will be introduced with Ghost Circle. So we've got literally all the numbers except for 6 and 8, but we don't even have the heights for all of them. Like we haven't seen a 170 yet, for example, or like a 780, etc., etc. We can imagine them putting in like these different height ratchets with these number ratchets that are going on. It shows where there's like holes and stuff, and they'll be filled in over time, I'm guessing. But the balance with it is amazing. Even with how the game is and like the gear ridge on the outside, not nearly as many places to like spam or such in a Beyblade X Stadium. Like the balance is there. It makes it where attack, even like extreme finishes, that balances things out in a major way, man. You might have a stamina type, but you get an attack type in there that gets a big time hit and sends that powerful stamina type out with an extreme finish, shuts it down. That gives the balance to attack types, even not having the craziest stamina, you know? And that is the beauty of it for sure. So that being a major thing. Yeah, the balance, of course. Moving forward, just the big time hype, how we've got like Beyblade X Zone, how we just had that video game drop. I hope they drop more video games in the future and they do it like a big time level. As far as I've heard, Beyblade X Zone is really, really awesome. Somebody can let me know in the comments. I want to get the physical copy so I can get like the nice Shinobi with it, the blue one. Yeah, or Shinobi knife. But I would love to play through it, but want it to be like in English. Does the physical copy have English with it, like English subbing? Because I know it's on Steam or if you get it on the shop, but I usually like getting the hard copies, and especially in this case because I really want to get the nice Shinobi to battle with. You know. But yeah, just somebody can let me know in the comments, because I'd really love to pick up the actual physical version with the Bay, and also, you know, the game. Of course I want to play the game and such, but I don't understand a ton of Japanese and love to have like the English version. But yeah, somebody can let me know if you've gotten the game and, you know, it does or it doesn't. Just definitely let me know in the comments. I much appreciate it. But yeah, just maintaining that hype with seasons going forward, seeing gimmicks, maintaining the weight with those gimmicks, no matter what gimmicks were put in. I mean, we got Impact Drake coming with the gimmick of the rubber attack, but still maintaining that weight and such. I don't think it's going to be like insanely OP. It's going to be a big time attacker for sure. And that's the thing. A rubber attack is a double-edged sword. It hits harder, especially when it's like softer rubber does hit, but also risking of like it chipping off. But the harder rubber also hits big time too. But the big thing is like the trade-off, that recoil, it makes it where the base slows down that much more. But that's the balance with it. More attack focus, but less stamina. You know, and that's just part of the balance with it. I love the way that things are balanced and hoping they maintain that balance going forward. Because right now Beyblade X is in an amazing state, and just hope that they maintain the balance where a lot of stuff that we see out now is able to be used for a long time. With like the balance and stuff they have with the game, because so far with all the bays they put out, there's so much balance, man. It's great. I absolutely love it. Of course, maintaining things with like the rare bays, you know, rare bay get battle, type things, which is really cool. It sucks that like some of the bays are locked in it. Like Cobalt Drake is locked in the rare bay game, at least for now. Maybe Hasbro might make a Cobalt Drake with a later wave. I mean, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't. Hopefully they learned from mistakes of not doing exclusives like I mean, they made Orichalcum during Burst. But they didn't make like Baldarov. Well, they made Gilded Baldarov, but like, they didn't ever make Baldarov. They never made Amaterios, and that's where they shot themselves in the foot, beginning of Burst. So it'd be amazing if they did so. But it's also like, will TT let them do that? Because TT definitely, like, technically has the big time rights for it. But it'll be cool if they allow Hasbro to make like Cobalt Drake after time. Even if it's like a recolor to where it's not like the clear one or even the blue one. A non-painted Cobalt Drake that's just like blue that they make for the plastic, that would work. Something like that. You know what I mean? If TT really wants that to be an exclusive for them, the regular Cobalt Drake version, like, even just put in like I said, a recolor for it. Because if they're going to put out Dragoon, they might as well put out Drake, because they can't skip over Dragoon. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maintaining things 1-to-1. Just how they've done so, the weight, the gimmicks, and everything. Don't switch that up. Yeah, well, that being a Hasbro type thing, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just call this My Hopes for Both Part 2. I'm just going to put them in both. Because I talked about things basically with TT. Why the hell not? Sorry, I switch up things sometimes. I'll do this with talking about both. So, on the Hasbro side, maintain things. Doing 1-to-1 like how TT does. Exclusives. I would love to see Hasbro exclusive molds for some things. But again, it's through TT. And we've gotten like some retoolings of some molds, which has been really, really cool. Like how TT has exclusives like Cobalt Drake, Arrow Pegasus, the Giant's Drawn Dagger, how we're getting the freaking Barcelona themed sets and bays and everything, like the Dread Buster and then the Hell's Hammer with the set. That's freaking sick. The Shark Edge, like the blue Shark Edge that they have, making exclusives like that. I know there's like a Navy Phoenix Wing that just dropped. The black Cobalt Dragoon, which that thing's freaking awesome. It's just so expensive. Oh my god. But stuff like that. Like TT having their own exclusives, but then Hasbro having their own exclusives. The Transformers bays, the Marvel bays, the Star Wars bays, having bays like Talon Terra, Steel Samurai, etc., etc. Tusk Mammoth, Bite Croc, Yell Kong, Roar Tyranno, like all Savage Bear. Just so many exclusives. Knife Shinobi, which is actually in the show, which is really, really dope. But they're making it where like people are able to get them in Japan. Some of these bays, at least like players, switching up the names, like how we have Terra Swing, like how we have Shinobi Knife with the game, how we had Bear Scratch come with the set. Making it where people can get those bays, making it where we can get some of those bays over here. Like it'll be amazing to get Cobalt Drake, like I said. In time, it'll be insane and amazing to get Arrow Pegasus, even if they did like a non-painted version. You know what I mean? Like things like that. They want to put it out and make it not like colored like how we have under TT. Still be able to get it under Hasbro, and that'll be a huge, huge thing. And even the way that Hasbro's doing things, like it's crazy. I think in the next wave, they're putting Beat Tyranno in a 2-pack. I think with Knife Shinobi or another bay, maybe it didn't sell that much as people wanted. But I think that's a perfect pairing too. Knife Shinobi. It is an anime bay. Just saying. And also, like, Beat Tyranno, that's a prize bay from a random booster being in a 2-pack. It's like how Gale Wyvern is. It's dope, the way that they're doing this. People can definitely get these bays under Hasbro if they're not able to get them under TT, and it's more difficult. So, yeah, I think that's really, really sick. But those are the big-time hopes. With the show, mainly, like, big-time evil antagonist, which I mean, we're going to probably get a build towards that. Chrome was that guy to beat with the first season, and it's like, we're going to get that big-time build of, like, darkness and such going forward. I just hope they maintain the balance with the bays being in the same weight realm. I know I said that quite a bit, but just putting emphasis on that, the balance, that being the big-time thing, and I love the balance that they've had thus far. I hope they maintain it going forward. Of course, adding more gimmicks and stuff, but don't break that threshold of, like, 40-gram weight, Just maintain, like, being in the 30s, I'd say, weight-wise. But, yeah. I guess that's basically all the thoughts and such I have hoping for Beyblade X going forward on both sides, that being Hasbro and TT. I'll just put, like, the logo for both of them. Things I want to see with Beyblade Burst. or things I want to see with Beyblade X. Sorry, saying Beyblade Burst, just referencing Burst and Metal Fight and other gens that we've seen before, even with Bakugan, because I still have Bakugan, you know? And that's never going to change. I got Beyblade and Bakugan tatted on my body. You already know. I love them both. But just being real about the things that have worked, things that haven't worked, or where they switched up with things, and just hoping Hasbro continues to have one-to-one. They don't try to skimp out on the weight or anything with any bays or gimmicks going forward. As long as they maintain things like how they have done with so far with this first season, or first arc, things will be fine. Like introduce like the bays coming up, like Night Mail and such, or Mail Night, whichever one they want to call it, or like Saber Samurai when it comes out. Make sure it has the gimmicks, like the bays have the gimmicks and everything, just like how they are under TT. Translate them, bring them over, and things will be perfectly great going forward. That's for sure. That's how you have a successful series and not switch up things in a major way. If switch up, that means make your own exclusive molds, but make the weight like how it is in that realm of like 30 to high 30 grams, and not make anything that's insanely ridiculous. Like, don't make any bays that are like 40 plus grams or such. Definitely don't want to see that. I want to see them maintain the balance with things, because so far, a lot of stuff's useful, and it's hard to say there's even any bad parts. Even Metal Needle, which a lot of people don't like, I don't think is impossible to use. It's just like the fact of it puts holes in stadiums. If you launch it too hard, like smashing it down to the stadium, it can make a hole. But having some stamina with it, because it's a metal tip, and yeah, use it the right way, possibly be able to deflect attacks. But you know, having that metal with it, it's a tricky thing. It's knowing how to just use it. So yeah. But I wouldn't say it's impossible to use, just some people don't prefer it, and that's totally understandable. But with this generation, as compared to previous generations, hardly any parts that you could say are really, really like terrible or non-usable at all. So, yeah, you know, even with things like Spike or, like I said, Metal Needle, like stationary attack type combos with them are fun, and like there being like big time raw defense with them, really fun. But even like stationary attack, utilizing them, made some combos with them, or seeing how they've done combos, you know, and it's a lot of fun using them for stationary attack, that's for sure. That's the beauty of this generation, and all generations, all the customization, and just how the bays are unbalanced compared to previous gens is what ironically makes it balanced. It's so freaking cool. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this epic discussion video. Sorry, I'm a little stuffed up. The weather change and everything is going to start getting really cold. It's been like decently warm lately, but it's going to start getting really, really freaking cold. I'm surprised it's been this warm going into like end November. That's how it goes sometimes. But then other times it's like it gets damn cold. But just enjoying it for a bit, because it's about to turn into Narnia or Alaska. It's going to get cold for sure. But anyways, guys, those are my hopes for Beyblade X going forward under both Takara Tomy and Hasbro. Things I want to see from both of them. Yeah, of course, like random booster sets. Can imagine more random booster sets. Just keeping the balancing of putting out parts and such. Some people aren't the biggest fan of this Ghost Circle random booster. I think it's a solid one, because having Phoenix Feather, recolor for Leon Claw, which we haven't seen too many of those, and the bays they put in here, honestly, not bad choices. Part wise, not terrible choices, you know. But yeah, people have their preferences, and that's totally understandable, and it's fair. I'm sure people were probably like, why wasn't Dran Buster putting this? I mean, considering they're having to build a bay type thing with Dran Buster, also the Barcelona version coming out, I'm sure they'll probably put one in either an upcoming set or another random booster, because we've gotten recolors for Hell's Hammer, we've gotten recolors for Wizard Rod. The only one we haven't seen a recolor for, well, Dran Buster, which is about to come and be joined, like come in and join. But yeah, I can imagine them putting it in booster going forward, and then some of the other bays that we haven't seen a lot of. Like we've only got like 2 Cobalt Dragoons. Vice Tiger being a big time candidate for a future one. Leon Crest, I can imagine. They just put in Shinobi Shadow with this upcoming booster, which that's a solid one, honestly. We haven't seen too many of those. So most people don't prefer it. They're making it where like these parts are becoming more available and such. I wouldn't mind seeing another Phoenix Wing, because we only seen like 2, I think, under TT. So yeah, that even not being a bad choice. And then just, like I said, some of the blades and stuff we haven't seen a whole ton of. I don't know if they'll put Drake out besides the Rare Bay game, but we'll see. Maybe in time. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this epic discussion video. Let me know your hopes and thoughts and such that you want to see either on TT side or Hasbro side with Beyblade X. Let me know in the comments, man. I want to see what you guys' thoughts are. But yeah, and thank you for even sitting and listening to mine. I'm really, really hopeful. This is an amazing series, and it started off on an amazing foot. That's for sure. But I'm going to end this off. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to slice that like button down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to my channel, definitely be sure to subscribe for some epic content because I upload daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to ring that bell by my channel name to be notified whenever I upload a video. Also, videos will probably slow down after like this big time wave of battles, getting caught up with the TT battles. Basically, like caught up with Hasbro stuff until wave 3. I got a few survival battles to do with some of the non-anime bays. And then Beyblade X content will slow down for some time. And I'm going to focus on finishing a couple of stories, that being for Burst and also Metal Fight. I got BU Plus battles to do for Burst, and then finishing my MFB Homage series, which has been the goal to finish it by the end of this year. Hopefully getting that finished by the end of the year, which gives me a little bit over a month. So, yeah, got big plans for December. But anyways, until next time, guys, it is your boy Kimbo signing off. See you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, stay awesome and cool. Shoot. Or let it rip. I'm up out of here.